Chapter 1, Qingyun. The Qingyun mountain range stands tall and majestic, dominating the central plains. To the north lies the mighty river, Hongshuan, while to the south is the strategic city of Huyang, controlling the throat of the world. Its geographical location is of utmost importance. The Qingyun mountain stretches for hundreds of miles, with undulating peaks reaching up to the clouds. There are 7 towering peaks, shrouded in mist, concealing their true appearance. The dense forests, cascading waterfalls, and exotic birds and beasts make it a place of extraordinary beauty and danger, renowned throughout the world. But what is even more famous is the cultivation sect located on this mountain, the Qingyun Sect. The Qingyun lineage has a long history, having been established for over 2,000 years, and it is currently one of the leaders of both righteousness and evil. It is said that the founder of the sect was originally a wandering fortune teller, leading a miserable life without much success. At the age of 49, during his travels, he came across the Qingyun mountain, and immediately recognized its extraordinary spiritual energy. He climbed the mountain, lived on the wind and dew, and practiced cultivation. Before long, he discovered an unnamed ancient scroll in a hidden cave deep in the Qingyun mountain. This scroll contained various profound techniques and methods, obscure and difficult to understand, yet immensely powerful. The fortune teller devoted himself to studying this scroll diligently. 20 years later, he had made some progress and emerged from seclusion. Although he couldn't dominate the world, he became a prominent figure in the martial world. He then established the Qingyun Sect on the Qingyun mountain, based on the teachings from the ancient scroll. Since the teachings were similar to those of the Taoist tradition, he disguised himself as a Taoist and took the title of Qingyunzi, later revered as the Qingyun True Immortal by his disciples. Qingyunzi lived to be 367 years old. Before his death, he instructed his disciples, "I have spent half of my life studying the arts, especially proficient in the art of divination and feng shui. The Qingyun mountain is a rare spiritual place in the world. My Qingyun sect will prosper here in the future, and you must never give up. Remember, remember." At that time, his 10 disciples nodded in agreement, believing firmly in his words. However, in the following centuries, for reasons unknown, whether due to fate or Qingyun's lack of accurate divination, the Qingyun sect not only failed to prosper but gradually declined. Among the 10 disciples, 2 died young, 4 died in vendettas, 1 became disabled, and 1 disappeared, leaving only 2 lineages. This situation continued for 400 years. The Qingyun sect barely survived, on the verge of extinction. Eventually, they were even bullied at their own doorstep. Of the 7 peaks of Qingyun, apart from the main peak, Tangshan Peak, the other 6 were occupied by enemies, including bandits and thugs who used them as strongholds to plunder and commit crimes. Many ignorant people misunderstood, thinking that the Qingyun sect had fallen into such a state of decline. Despite the explanations and attempts of Qingyun disciples to defend their sect's reputation, they were powerless to stop the attacks. It was truly the most bitter period in the history of the Qingyun lineage. It wasn't until 1300 years ago that things began to change. Perhaps Qingyun's divination finally worked, or perhaps heaven grew tired of tormenting the Qingyun sect. At this time, among the 11th generation disciples of the Qingyun sect, a remarkable and charismatic figure emerged, Taoist Qingyi. Qingyi was originally surnamed Ye and was a poor scholar. Despite his exceptional talent, he repeatedly failed the imperial examinations. By a stroke of luck, he was taken in as a closed-door disciple by the 10th generation sect leader, Master Wu Fang. At the age of 22, within a year of joining the sect, Qingyi comprehended all the sword techniques and Taoist methods taught by Master Wu Fang, surpassing all other disciples. Within another year, he could even match Master Wu Fang in a sparring match. Astonished and delighted, Master Wu Fang handed over the ancient scroll, left by their ancestor to Qingyi for him to study on his own. Qingyi then secluded himself in the illusory moon cave, behind the Tangshan Peak for 13 years. It is said that he broke through on a full moon night. The cold moon hung high in the sky, illuminating the entire Qingyun mountain as bright as day. Suddenly, a strong wind blew, and there was a dragon roar from the back mountain, shaking the earth for miles around. Then, a faint purple auspicious light rose into the sky, accompanied by a loud noise. The illusory moon cave suddenly opened up, and Qingyi walked out with white hair, a smile on his face, and a clear light surrounding him. Everyone was shocked, thinking he had ascended to immortality. From then on, Qingyi officially became a Taoist, using his family name Ya, and taking the character Qing from Qingyun, hence his name Qingyi. On that day, he bid farewell to his teacher Wu Fang, and said, "Master, wait a moment. I have some matters to attend to, and I will return in a day." People didn't understand what he meant, but a day and a night later, Qingyi returned on his sword, and all the enemies outside the 6 peaks of Qingyun Mountain had been wiped out. Taoist Qingyi's magical powers and ruthless methods made him famous overnight, and the prestige of the Qingyun Sect soared. After another year, Master Wu Fang passed on the position of sect leader to Qingyi and retired to seclusion, no longer concerning himself with sect affairs. Under Qingyi's leadership, the sect flourished, supporting fellow disciples, rigorously selecting successors, and using the knowledge he gained from the ancient scroll to great effect. From then on, the Qingyun sect rose steadily. Within 50 years, it had become a pillar of righteousness. 200 years later, it had become the leader of all righteous sects. Taoist Qingyi passed away at the age of 550, having strict criteria for accepting disciples, and only passing down his teachings to 7 individuals. He then divided the 7 peaks of Qingyun among the 7 disciples, allowing each to pass on the sect's legacy. Among them, the main peak was occupied by Qingyun Temple, the center of the sect. Today, there are nearly 1,000 disciples under the Qingyun sect, with many skilled practitioners and a prominent reputation, ranking alongside the Tianyin Temple and the Incense Valley as one of the 3 major sects of the present day. And the current sect leader, Taoist ZhuXian, has achieved remarkable accomplishments, transcending the mundane and entering the realm of the divine. At the foot of Qingyun Mountain, about 50 miles northwest of Hayang City, lies a small village called Kaomiao Village. It is home to over 40 families, with simple and honest villagers, who often go up the mountain to gather firewood to exchange for some silver from the Qingyun sect to make a living. The villagers often see Qingyun disciples coming and going, and they hold them in great awe, believing them to be celestial beings. The Qingyun sect has always been kind to the surrounding villagers, treating them well. On this particular day, the sky was gloomy, with dark clouds hanging low, making it difficult to breathe. From Kaomiao village, the majestic Qingyun mountain could be seen piercing the sky, with its strange peaks and rocks, vaguely menacing. However, the villagers, who had lived here for generations, had seen this scene countless times and paid it no mind, especially the ignorant children. "Hey brat, where do you think you're going?" A shout mixed with laughter came from a semi-grown child. He looked about 12 or 13 years old, with handsome features, leading a group of 4 or 5 boys and girls, chasing after another child ahead of them. The child in front was 2 years younger, smaller in size, and had a smile on his face as he ran, occasionally turning back to make a face. "Zhang Xiaofan, if you have the guts, stop!" shouted the child behind. The child named Zhang Xiaofan made a dismissive sound, and continued to run faster. As they chased each other, the children gradually approached a dilapidated grass temple at the eastern end of the village. From the outside, this small grass temple was dilapidated, having experienced many storms of life. Zhang Xiaofan rushed in first but stumbled over the door, falling flat on his face with a thud. The other children rejoiced and swarmed over, pinning him down. The handsome boy, named Lin Jingyu, had a triumphant look on his face as he said, "I've caught you. Now you have nothing to say, right?" Unexpectedly, Zhang Xiaofan rolled his eyes, and said, "It doesn't count. You ambushed me, how can it count?" Lin Jingyu was taken aback, wondering, "When did I ambush you?" Zhang Xiaofan said, all right, Lin Jingyu, do you dare to say that you didn't place this door plank here?" Lin Jingyu loudly replied, "That's not true." Zhang Xiaofan pursed his lips, tilted his head, showing a stubborn refusal to surrender. Lin Jingyu's anger surged, and he grabbed Zhang Xiaofan's neck, angrily asking, "Do you surrender, or not?" Zhang Xiaofan didn't respond. Lin Jingyu's face turned red, his grip tightening, and he shouted, "Do you surrender, or not?" Zhang Xiaofan's windpipe was squeezed, his breathing becoming difficult, and his face gradually turned red. However, despite his young age, he had a strong personality and refused to make a sound. Lin Jingyu became increasingly furious, exerting more force. "Do you surrender or not?" At this moment, the other children realized something was wrong, and quietly backed away, leaving only these 2 ignorant children to indulge in their stubbornness. Just as a disaster seemed about to occur, a Buddhist chant sounded from deep within the grass temple, and someone said, "Amitabha, stop this at once. A thin, wrinkled hand reached out from nowhere, and flicked Lin Jingyu's hands with 2 fingers. Lin Jingyu was shocked, his whole body trembling, and his hands naturally let go. Zhang Xiaofan gasped for breath, showing signs of relief. He and Lin Jingyu stood frozen in place, slowly realizing what had just happened, and they looked at each other, increasingly terrified. Lin Jingyu hesitated. Xiaofan, I'm sorry, I don't know how. Zhang Xiaofan shook his head, his breathing gradually calming down, saying, it's okay. Hey, who are you? The other children followed his gaze, and saw an old monk standing in the grass temple. His face was covered in wrinkles, and he wore tattered robes. He was dirty all over, but in his hand, he held a string of jade prayer beads, shining with a faint green light. Strangely, among the jade prayer beads, which were all of the same size and clarity, there was one that was neither jade nor stone, with a deep purple color and no light.